Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third session for today at ADL Learners Exchange 2021. Hi, my name is Samantha Aviles, an intern at Ateneo Salt Institute. With me today is Juanito Chan, an instructor at Ateneo Graduate School of Business, where he teaches statistics. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Chan.
Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. It's a rainy afternoon, okay, for this, so I just share my screen. Okay, my topic is about best practices in managing your online classroom. Okay, so this is actually applicable to from K to 12 to the high school to the college and professional schools. Okay, let's start with the context. What is my beginning here? The context of my presentation. In 2019, it was my first time to teach online. Of course, I do not know how to do it. Of course, our cluster Department of Operations and IT conducted online webinars on how to design our lessons in Blackboard at first, because we're using Blackboard, and then on Canvas. Later, we conducted, of course, our ADL 1.0, which also participated on how to conduct classes online using different techniques and tools available online. So who am I? I'm the chair, of course, my name is Juanito Chan, okay, workplace-based professor at Ateneo Graduate School of Business. Aside from statistics, I teach also applied mathematics, management science, operations management, and Lean Six Sigma for more than 20 years now. So after teaching online for one trimester using the Canvas or Blackboard, okay, I got this course evaluation, of course, using the ADL design rubrics, okay, the same as the one we actually use in ADL2, where my score I got as an average of 4.35 on a scale of 1 to 6 for all the courses I've taught during that trimester. So in this case, the score was a fail, of course, because the minimum average passing course should be 4.5. So the main common students, from there would be no interaction between students. Assignments are quite too heavy. Professors were just reading the slides to the lecture, and the lecture was boring too. And the class was not managed well in the sense that we end up either too late or too early from the time allotted for online session. So I decided the way I manage my online classroom, okay? So what did I do? So in managing my online classroom, I stumbled upon this virtual teaching guide by Nicole Piper, okay, that gives you details on how to create a successful virtual lessons. The best practices, of course, for virtual teaching, I adopted it. And of course, I made some minor changes on some of the steps given on the guidelines. So let's have a participation here. Spot which bunny does not have a twin. Anybody? Write the answer in chat box so you can use your microphone. Can you spot this? Second row from the top. The smiling one, the smiling teeth. And what else? Smiling, okay? The toothy smile, right? Any other? Can you just spot it? All right. Smiling, yeah, the smiling. So let's have the final answer here. Let's take that too much here, of course. So this is a search only, yeah. So the answer is this one, okay? That has a darker yellow pattern on both its ears and around its nose. It doesn't have any twins at all, okay? So let's continue. So how to create a successful virtual lessons for this, okay? So usually how to create that. First, step one, I do the bell word. So the one I illustrated is a bell word, okay? So usually I give student time to log in, Then activity for those who get in early, that's the one we have earlier. That's an activity which is a search, okay? So usually I prepare something fun, I do a search, just like the example, or sometimes I give brain teaser, a riddle, a joke, a funny picture. Sometimes I play a music video for all my students, okay? Then after step one, I do step two, of course. I give the norms and rules. So usually you may need to do this every class for a while. Okay, say from, I do this from my first up to third meeting, and also depends on the students, of course. So make sure you get affirmative from the students for all those norms and rules that you have. So this is an example of my norms or rules here. I'm the explorer. They are the explorer here. So there. So I promise to try my hardest time at answering my chat, write on the board, and give us a green check, red X. Okay. I know it's better to say don't know than answer not answer. Oh, it's better to guess. To type any question I have to Professor in the chat box. And the norm for today, of course, you can ask question only for about specific slide, save the general question for later. And then to keep my personal information private by not sharing it in the chat. And finally, and fifth one, to respect my fellow learner by encouraging them to do their best. And the last one, of course, you have to treat this virtual setting as a classroom by keeping your thoughts and comments academic centered. So these are the way I give them, and then I have them sign on this slide here, or they do that, they send it to me. Okay, so they agree for that. Next, after step two, I made this one, so that's the connection time already. Okay, they know the rules, the norms. So in connection time, I share something about you. So I ask them to share something about you. Have students share something also. Also, I have a celebration page wherein they, for example, I give congratulations to completed word, excellent word, birthdays, etc. Okay, this example of my, I share something here. Okay, yeah. So I share something here to my students. Okay, this is the one I share. I'm the ex-captain. Okay, they're the explorer. So I love books. I love cartoons, of course, animals. I love traveling. Okay, this is my 24th year actually teaching at AGSB, and this is my second year of teaching online. So previously I teach the first online, so I give this one there. Okay, so they know me already. After this, they have to share something about them. Okay. So next, I do have congratulations. For example, they got a perfect score on a certain quiz I gave. So for example, like Juan de la Cruz, so congratulations to them and so forth. So next, after the connection time, so they're now connected because they already have that. And then we go to step four, which start with the learning. So I have the learning target. So what is the agenda for the day or the week? And the student-friendly language, of course. I use the statement like I can. I also use SWBAT. The students will be able to, that is SWBAT. Okay, example of my target, for example, this one, students will be able to identify, distinguish, solve, analyze, interpret different types of random variables and probability distribution. So this is one of my topic actually in my, I think this is on week number 6. Yeah, week number 7, sorry, okay, for that. Then after that, you have the learning target. We go now to step 5. That's where we start the learning. Of course, we have the warm up first. So what's the warm up? We have the review from last class, preview of this class, vocabulary, solve a problem. If you have, tell me what you know, give me your thoughts, or practice a skill. So either of this, you can do that in warm up. Okay, so you can do some of them, one of them, or not all of them, of course. Okay. Next, so of course, I give appropriate waiting time for the students for this one. Okay, so this is a part of the warm up here for this session here. So in the chat box, okay, what are your challenges in online learning or online teaching here? So you can put this one. The students can put this number, letters, or any letters they want. So they just place it on the chat box. So this is more of a warm up. So I have also other topics that can do so for this one. Okay, so warm up for the students. Okay, so they just write the answer in the chat box so I know which are their challenges in their online learning and so forth, so you can basically adjust to that. So after warm up, of course, we have the step number 6, which is the lesson time already. Okay, so in lesson time, of course, these are the things I do. Of course, first one, I do it. Okay, this one relatively short. I do problem solving and so forth. I demonstrate to them. Next, of course, we do. a little longer. That means we both sides, for example, solve a problem or demonstrate how to solve a problem. So I ask them how to solve the steps here, so a little longer. And the last one, of course, you do. That means the students will do the rest. Of course, ideally, this is the longest. Okay. So what are the things? Of course, students will have opportunity to do something every few minutes. Okay, as you can see from here. And of course, I give them the appropriate waiting time or wait time. So for I do, of course, these are the things I did them. Of course, this is my lecture time. Okay, so usually my lecture time is quite short, only 5 to maximum of 10 minutes. Okay, and you know how long your students can pay attention for this. So PowerPoint is fine here. Make sure your students are still interacting with you. Of course, have the student read on the microphone if you want them. Okay, you have K to 12. Of course, sometimes you have popcorn read or point to something on the screen or note-taking instruction. You ask them, of course, simple. You just ask them, are you there? Are you still there? Okay, so that means there. And then the study, of course, on the online lecture, that means most people are tuned out after 6 minutes. So usually I have around 5 minutes, maximum around 8 or 10 minutes. Okay, that is for the adults. Of course, when you have younger students, of course, I think this much lesser. Okay. And then we do, which is a little longer for this. So we do, of course, we practice the skill with guidance. Okay, I let them practice there. So guide them. So the steps, everything, and so forth. And then maybe they answer in the chat, or they write on the board, or they guide you through the solving, sometimes for that, or they may work in partner or in pairs. You can ask them. And they use their own microphone or camera. Or of course, I give them appropriate the word or think time. Of course, this is a little longer. And the last one, of course, would be you do, which is ideally the longest. So in you do, of course, the students, this one practically practice skill on their own. Okay. So you might want to dismiss them for this. Okay. Or I usually use breakout rooms for this. Okay. I ask them to go to the breakout rooms by groups. Okay. And then have them answer the chat. I have them solve problems. Okay. Or specific critical thinking discussion exercises for this, or word on paper and send it to you. Of course, it's not ideal. And then you can also work in Google Classrooms if you want to. Okay. So I think this is an example here. Okay. So this is an example of a PowerPoint here. So in the chat, what do you notice about these PowerPoint slides? This is just an example. Anybody? Just write on the chat, or you can speak through the microphone. There, okay. It's crowded, okay, yeah. And others, of course, it's too much text. Yeah, that's fine, of course, okay. So in that case, of course, that means do not confuse cute for engaging, of course, okay. So you don't have the slides like that, okay. And of course, you have save your cute stuff for community building, and everything on the lesson slide should save a purpose. And finally, the last step would be the exit ticket. Okay, usually some kind of wrap up from the class. Students must answer to lead. What did you learn for this? Or it could be a fun riddle or a joke. Or you can have if you send a recording to students who missed, of course, have them answer the exit ticket question, so you know they already watched their slides. Okay. So this is the one here. Of course, we don't have to do that. Tell me one thing you've learned today that is helpful in online teaching. Okay, later on we shall go to that in Q&A, of course. Okay. And finally, of course, what did I learn from this? I learned how to teach proactively and interactively. I've changed the way I manage my classrooms. After deploying all of these best practices, I've gotten a higher average score from 4.35. It's now 5.35 for all my classes. Given it today, I'm still employing these practices with some variation this time. For example, I include competition time, reporting time, including fellow classmates. I have them change their groupings 3 times, and the 4th time, they finally choose their own group mates, and there will be the final groupings. And what to improve on, of course, these are the things. Of course, having more authentic assessment aside from the ones I have now. Changing my case study, of course, sometimes given a group specific topics for one school year, so as to avoid copying from previous students' group. For critical discussion topics, of course, to change the topics to be discussed with more recent ones that are relevant to the students' learnings. And thank you for listening. So this is my references. You can go to these websites and of course this one as well. Okay. So thank you for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Juanito. The floor is now open for our Q&A. You may use the chat box below or you can open your mic. I think Miss Tanya raised her hand po. Tanya, you may open your mic.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Tan.
Chan, yeah.
I-
CHN for, yes.
Yes, hi. I just like to express my appreciation for your presentation, and by starting out po with your evaluation, not many professors would be humble enough to admit that they didn't get a good rating at the start. And it's very nice po that you mentioned what you've learned from this, and I'm very glad na talagang tumaas yung inyong ratings because of your techniques. So it's not so much a question, but an appreciation for your humility in sharing all of this with us and in sharing your lessons. So thank you po.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also. Yeah. I think we have this one. No more. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hello, Chan.
Hello, yeah,
Sir Chan, I have a question.
Yes,
I'm Mark.
sir. Yes, sir.
I was curious regarding for those students who you gave a copy of your video for asynchronous sessions, and you asked
Yes.
them questions. Now, could you kindly elaborate more on that? How you do that?
For
That
my
process.
recordings.
Yes, for your recording.
What I do is basically I record all my sessions there and then ask them, for example, like what did they learn from this session? So specifically the topics they learn, and of course I ask them to give samples of the practical applications or real life applications concerning those topics that we discussed. For example, today's lesson is about probability, so I ask them to cite that, and then they submit to me online through email or of course through the assignment box in the Canvas. Yes.
And you also grade
For that
their
one,
responses.
I do not grade that anymore, but I give them,
Okay.
of course, responses that this one is, of course, so that I know they already watch the video recording, because sometimes,
I
of course,
see.
you give them and then they don't watch. Okay, so it's useless. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you also.
We still have time for more questions. Feel free to use the chat box or open your mic if you want to. I think Mr. Philip over here has raised his hand.
Yes. Yes, yeah. Mr. Philip. Yeah. Philip Arnold. Yes, sir. Yeah, you're mute. Please unmute. Please, yeah. Please unmute, sir.
Medyo mahina, Randy.
Hindi ko marinig eh. Baka umulan kasi. Yes, sir.
I think you need to put the microphone near to your mouth, boss.
I think he's using earphone. Hindi ko marinig eh.
Can you now? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I just like to just ask. I mean, thank you for your. It's a very, it's concise presentation, and also for letting us know about the work of Nicole Piper. But just like to ask, what are the lessons that maybe you've taken away from her, and what are the lessons that maybe you've learned on your own vicariously? Maybe some of the lessons that you've implemented maybe was not really from her, but maybe you just learned from just like to ask.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
lesson I learned from her is the different steps there. Basically, it's given there the steps for the successful online lessons. So what I did, I just modify it. So usually I don't have exit ticket anymore. And then in between, I just place, for example, like competition time, like a Kahoot. in between, or have them students like discussion, like critical thinking discussions on any topics. That's what I add there. Okay, and that one.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you, sir.
I think there's a question in the chat box. Oh, hi,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
all the students answer the exit tickets, or were there instances that students did not give their exit ticket?
In my case, they already answered the exit ticket whenever they're absent. Of course, the only thing that they answer the exit ticket is when they are absent, of course, or they would like to have a recording of the class session. And in my case, they already answer all of them. Uh, 10 minutes.
We still have time for more questions if you want
Yes,
to.
yes.
Again, feel free to either raise your hand or open your mic or use the chat box.
And that one, I think Arlene Joy. Yeah. Hello,
Hi,
ma'am. Hello,
hi, good
ma'am.
afternoon, sir. Sir,
Hello,
you
ma'am.
mentioned that the lecture time is the shortest one.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes,
Once you have moved to the we do part and you
yes.
noticed that the group wasn't able to pick up what you have said or what you have discussed, were there instances that you had to make the lecture period longer?
No, in that case, usually I do lecture only those parts that they find the hardest. So beforehand, they're doing that asynchronously. So I know which part they already find it hard. So that's the one I emphasize or emphasize in my lecture. Yeah,
Ah, I see. So
yeah,
there's already a pre.
yeah. Before
Oh,
that asynchronous. Yeah,
okay, okay.
I give them reading assignments actually, and then I graded their reading assignments.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
yeah. Thank you also.
I think we have another
In
question in the
terms of
chat box.
attendance of students in your synchronous class, how is it? How many attend? Like half the class, most of the class, or some of the class? Actually, all of them attended. Okay, so if they're absent, maybe only one that is due to some unavoidable circumstances. But obviously, all of them would like to attend my class already. Sometimes they're early for around 10 to 20 minutes before. They just coming to my class and so forth.